Ambrose from Simplifi. Very, very privileged to be here again. This is our second ICT Directors Forum. The first one was very insightful, and sitting through these sessions, I definitely say that we've learned a few things that we did not know. Today we want to briefly discuss about empowering networks. And while I was thinking about what I would talk about today, it felt like what we do as Simplifi Networks is we empower your networks one way or the other. Obviously, the most obvious one is through the hardware equipment that we provide. But then that felt like a befitting title for today's presentation. Okay, so Simplifi Networks has been around since 2014. That means sometime in January, we actually celebrated our 10th anniversary. So we are 10 years old in the ICT sector in Uganda. And we are network distributors of particular vendors. And I say particular because if you look at that list of vendors that you're looking at now, is each and every one of those vendors has a particular value that we saw in them, so that we started a partnership with them. So that you, our partners, when you come for these kinds of equipment, there is a value that we are selling to you, there is a value that we are showing you that is different from those that you're not seeing here. And just to touch on the subject of today's discussion, Simplifi and Renew have been in collaboration for almost as many years as Simplifi has existed. Renew has been a very good partner of ours. We've done several projects with some of them that I will touch on as we proceed with the presentation. And then, other than Renew, we also do work with several other players in the ICT sector in Uganda, like ISPs, like NGOs, to name but a few. So what are we going to talk about? Just briefly, the few subjects that I want to share on. Remember, I'm just saying that I'm sharing some of our experiences through the journey of empowering networks for different sectors in Uganda. One of them that we're going to talk about is enterprise Wi-Fi. We'll briefly discuss some of the experiences we've seen, some of the things that we see that are coming up from our vendors in terms of newer products, newer protocols and standards, whatnot, but also some of the challenges that our customers share with us as we are interfacing with them. And some of these, I believe, are very crucial for a forum like this. Then we'll briefly also touch on fiber. We are very big proponents of fiber being deployed in every network. If you're an ICT director, an ICT administrator, our belief is that you must have fiber in this day and age. You must have some form of fiber in your network. And then we'll talk about LTE, some of the partnerships we do with Renew that span the LTE. Then we'll also touch on small form factor computing, I beg your pardon, and why you should be looking into that. Then briefly, I will touch on LoRaWAN. I know my colleague Claire from Renew did do a presentation yesterday about LoRaWAN, but we also want to give a few updates on what Simplifi is doing in that area. Then lastly, I'll have just a small mention, if time allows, on Simplifi Tech Talks. That is something that we are doing as a company, as also as a form of CSR, to get more and more people involved in the technology space, ICT most especially, to improve general life. All right, so when we talk about Wi-Fi, I know just about every presenter has said something about Wi-Fi. Us being the people that provide some of the kit that you deploy in your networks, we are always looking out for what is new, what is happening, what new trends are out there. And I thought I would just touch on a few of these subjects. One of them is looking at why the comparison or what should I use when it comes to Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 now that is slowly creeping up. Most of our vendors have started offering devices that support the Wi-Fi 7 standard. So me, Ambrose, as a network administrator, what should I choose from those? And the biggest takeaway here that we see with most clients is there is a tendency to say, give me the biggest and greatest. Give me the newest. Give me what is more expensive, maybe, because that I believe will do the best work. If I have some complaints in my network, yes, just hand me Wi-Fi 7. That should solve the problem, right? Whereas what we typically share with the clients that we engage with is look at what the challenge is that you're facing. It's not that you must choose the biggest and greatest or the newest, the shining star of what equipment we are offering, but choose what will actually work for you. More so nowadays is most people are actually looking at Wi-Fi 6. I believe most of us have deployed some Wi-Fi 6. But that does not in any way mean that if I have a Wi-Fi 5 access point or device, it will fail in any way. Okay? With the growth of some of the Wi-Fi standards, we do have a change to things like 2.5 gigabit ports for the uplinks of these access points. Those are things that are becoming commonplace, majorly because these APIs serve much bigger bandwidths, and that means you need higher uplink ports, and that will also influence the port densities on your switches, the switches that you use to power those APIs. Another small thing to touch on is the power for the APIs. A lot of times you'll find someone saying, oh, my APIs don't work well, the range isn't as high as I had hoped, but then they neglect what PoE standard their switch is that they're using to power those access points. So some of these things that I believe when you're setting up the Wi-Fi network, you must really look at to be able to maximize the efficiency of that Wi-Fi network. Moving on. I think I jumped a slide there. Okay, perfect. So what do we offer in this space? We've got two very reputable vendors that we encourage our customers to look at. Of course, we've got Ubiquity Networks that offers you a single pane of glass kind of Wi-Fi network solution where you can see just about everything that is going on in your network. Incidentally, this is the same thing that is running our Wi-Fi network for this forum. We've also got someone from some devices from Ruji Networks. This is a new player that we recently added on, and Ruji is an alternative to the Unify brand, if I may say so, in offering just about similar specs and capabilities, but with a much better price per spec ratio. Moving on to the fiber side of things. What are we seeing in terms of fiber? What trends are we seeing out there in the market as we interact with different customers? Is a lot of people are beginning to embrace fiber in their local area networks. There was a time when fiber was unheard of in local area networks, and the reason was that people thought it was more expensive. People thought it was actually cheaper to deploy Cat6 as compared to fiber. I'm here to tell you that that notion is actually not true. Just as to inform you that a roll of pure copper Cat6 fiber actually today costs more than a roll of 2-kilometer fiber cable. And this is truth because we sell these things. So if you're out there with an idea about deploying fiber in your lands, but you're thinking, I will not be able to afford the fiber, I think that should change starting from today. One other thing we are seeing is the emergence in campus networks. And the campus networks that we're looking at, some of our vendors that are offering these kinds of services is looking at campus networks that use GPON. Yeah, GPON is no longer now specifically for ISPs to deliver FTTH to your home and all those kinds of things. We're looking at campus networks that have OLTs or hybrid switches that will do for you fiber that you can split to your different departments, to your different campus blocks, and then power access points, and run an actual network that is based on GPON, saving on things like Ethernet cable, saving on things like switches for access. So that is the fiber side of things. Then we're also looking at higher and higher throughput in the networks. We're seeing a lot of movement in things like 10G, 40G, to the extent that we've started looking at even 100G, not necessarily for the networks, but more for the ISP side of things. But these are things that we are seeing move in the market today, which is kind of testament to the fact that bandwidth is becoming more and more available to the people. Then there's an age-old discussion we always seem to have at Simplifi, that is, I'm running fiber in my LAN, and I think I should use multi-mode as compared to single mode. This is something personally that I've had to talk to with several people. I don't know if you guys have had the same, but what we always tell people is there was a point when it made sense maybe to run multi-mode in your LAN if you're not doing switch to switch, but in today's age, there is very little argument to give for you to not deploy single mode fiber in any of your LAN deployments. Okay, they are signaling for time, so I'm going to try and rush through. Moving on to LTE solutions. Now, Renew, who, as I touched on earlier, is a very strong partner of ours, has been taking advantage of some of our LTE solutions in the space of connecting very remote areas, trying to get connectivity to areas that don't yet have fiber connectivity, that don't yet have, or that have very limited 4G connectivity. So that is an area that we've strongly been a player in. And then the small form factor computing as well. We are looking at ways of having people access computing in different form factors, not just the desktop, not just the laptop, but these are some of the ways that you can actually have computing for different applications. I mean, for your receptions, for your things like computer labs for schools, yeah. We're looking at some of these that are fairly powerful, very low power, but in the same time come with very small form factor forms. Touching on just the LoRa one, if you've passed by our booth, I'm sure you've had some discussions with us. We have some sensors, some gateways that are available down there. I know Claire did talk about LoRa and try to explain the protocols and the specifications, but just to give you a feel of what it is really, it would be nice if you looked at the hardware and tried to see what possibilities there are. Just to elaborate on this, we have a POC with our friends at Naru, again working with Renew for the backhaul and the cloud to store some of this data. We are trying to monitor things like soil moisture, soil conductivity, some climatic things like atmospheric pressure, air quality, humidity, temperature, name it. And this is also temperature and humidity in some of the storage areas or some of the seed banks for the researchers at Naru. So this is what we are currently doing in the space of LoRa, and the goal here is that to get more and more people to adopt this protocol, to do sensing in all kinds of areas. You could do sensing in your server room. I need my temperature in the server room to not go beyond this. Get a LoRa sensor, and Renew will give you a gateway that will enable you to do that. I need to sense some climatic areas. I need to do some smart farming. all these kinds of things are actually possible today, here and now. This is a dashboard of one of the POCs I've just talked about, showing briefly different entities that are being monitored from CO2, levels of CO2, to wind speed and direction, to temperature and humidity, so on and so forth. Lastly, just a brief, this is something that we've been taking on with a few of our partners, but mainly we've been spearheading it, and that is Simplifi Tech Talks, geared at talking about technology, not as engineers, but talking about technology with everyday people to see how can technology improve our lives. So that is Ken, who happens to be my director, who was supposed to be standing here, that didn't manage to come. But that is him talking on Energy Radio about issues to do with technology. Just as an example, one of the topics we were talking about is how to use the internet responsibly. I know someone raised a question to Professor about better utilizing the internet or the capacity that we have. And we do face the same question, especially when selling some of our routers. And the idea we always sell to the client is, or to the partners, is that if you have got capacity, you are better off making sure no one single person can use all the capacity for themselves, in that each one of us can use a certain minimum amount of bandwidth, so that there is some level of equity, rather than concentrating on saying you cannot use this, you cannot use YouTube, you cannot use X amount, because there's no way of telling who is using it for the right reasons or not. I thank you for your attention. I encourage you to come to our booth and check out the things that we do have some discussions with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.